Hey, I'm Ed. Today we've got server-side tracking for conversions in Google Ads. So we've got Aleksej Lazanski from Slovenia, experienced Google Ads consultant and professional. And he's going to take us through server-side tracking. So very quickly, why is server-side tracking really important? Well, it protects your first-party data, so you control it. That means your conversion tracking in this case. You get more of it because it's more accurate. It stops the blockers, the cookie crushing issues. So you get more data, better quality data. It's yours. And then you can feed that back into Google Ads to improve the bidding, targeting, and your own reporting. So it's a win-win. Aleksej, over to you. Thanks for doing the video and enjoy.
Hey, my name is Aleksej, and here's how to set up proper server-side tracking. During this walkthrough, we'll need an analytics account with the GA4 property, Google Tag Manager account, a website on which to implement GTM, a stape.io account, then access to our DNS zone. In my case, it'll be Cloudflare. And if you want to include Google Ads conversion tracking, we'll need a Google Ads account with conversion action created. In my case, it's form submitted. So just in case you're not familiar with GTM, let's take a quick look at how the classic client-side GTM works. And let's create it. So I am in Google Tag Manager. I'll click Create Container, then say, I'll just do GTM, the classic web platform. And then I get 2 snippets of code that I then can implement on my website. In this case, I'm working with a WordPress website for the sake of this tutorial. So I'll do a WP code, I think it's called. Yep, here it is. And it's just a super lightweight plugin that allows me to insert snippets into the head and body of my website. So head and then body, and then we can test it out. Just copy this URL of our website, click test, and here it is. And I can verify that by going to the website, opening the developer tools, clicking on the network tab, and then refreshing my page. And if I filter for the Google Tag Manager domain, I can see that my GTM container, GTM P, C, D, and so forth, is successfully loading. Then if I go to tags, click new tag, add a trigger. So in this case, it'll be initialization all pages, Google Analytics, Google Tag. I can then take the measurement ID of my GA4 property, here it is, and simply paste it into this tag, and I'll call it Google Tag. Click Save. Click Submit, Publish. And now if I go back to the website, hit refresh. And then wait 2 seconds to see what's going on. So, okay, yeah, it just needs a minute sometimes. So I am waiting for, yes, the collect request, which means that my page view is being sent. My page views, my actions on the website are being sent to Google Analytics. And I can verify that also by going to GTM, clicking preview, adding my URL and clicking connect. So the tag assistant is connected. I can see that the Google tag fired on container initialization, and a page view event was sent to Google Analytics. And then if I go to Google Analytics, admin, data display, and debug view, I can see that this page view, which is now in debug mode, so it is not counted in the actual report and in the statistics. So debug mode is set to true. This is the same page view as we saw here in the request and the one that we saw in GTM. Okay, so what now? And why even consider implementing server-side tagging? The thing is, with all the tracking protection and tracking protection plugins and browsers like Brave, these requests even to Google Tag Manager and especially to Google Analytics are often get blocked, which means that we don't really see what's going on our website, who our visitors are, how they interact with the website, whether they perform a conversion action or not. And in that case, what we have to do is go ahead and kind of hide ourselves, so to speak, from these tracking protection solutions. So how do we do that? First off, let's go back to our Google Tag Manager, go to admin, and create a new container. And let's call it server-side setup.xyz SS. So I like to name my containers website dash, and then in this case SS stands for server-side, and then we'll rename the existing container to server-side setup.xyz dash web for the client-side part of the setup. So okay, server, click create. Then let's go to Stape, and just create an account, then click create as GTM container. I'll just copy and paste this container config code, and then I'll say server-side setup.xyz SS and click create container. Let's stick with 3 for the time being. No need to upgrade right now, and that's it. So usually it takes a minute for the container to be spun up. And in the meantime, let's add, so the container is being set up over on this subdomain, which is not ideal because we want to tie it to our root domain. So let's add a custom domain over here. And in my case, I'll do, for example, lime.server-side-setup.xyz. Why Lime? Why not analytics? Why not tracking? I usually go with fruit, but you can name it whatever. Just avoid things like analytics or tagging or what have you, because those are all like kind of hot words that trigger tracking protection, and they can, your requests can also be blocked. So just to stay on the safe side, lime.domain.com, I will manually connect it. Failed to fetch. Why is that? Okay, works. So CNAME, let's go to Cloudflare and add this DNS record. So CNAME for this subdomain and the value, and we don't want to proxy the requests. Click save, and then come back to Stape and click verify. I'll just go ahead and refresh. And this usually takes a couple minutes. Rarely does it take hours, especially with Cloudflare. But in the meantime, so let's just copy this initial domain name, open it in a new tab, then add /healthy.
Hello, If you're enjoying the video, please hit the like button. Consider subscribing as well. Potentially better than that, head over to adleak.com, stick your email in, and every 2 days I'll send you freebies, free tools, and lots of Google Ads advice. Thanks. Back to the video. Very quick message. Cheers.
And if everything's set up correctly, you should see an OK, which means that our tagging server is up and running. So let's just refresh this real quick. Come on. And you can open DNS checker, paste your domain over here, and it's not propagated. What did I do wrong? So this should be working. And why isn't it? Lime, DNS only. CNAME, not MX. Okay. Here we go. So, okay, this is it. Let's just sometimes if it's not working, I'll just do delete it and add it again. So yeah, here we go. Okay, so ready, connected, and if I then open this subdomain, it usually takes a couple minutes for the SSL certificate to get issued, but afterwards, oops, healthy, yep, working, good, great. So I'll go ahead and close Cloudflare, then copy this URL, go back to Google Tag Manager, go to admin. This is now our server-side container. Hit container settings and add our new URL. So we'll do all the debugging and the previews over on this URL. And this is the URL that our client-side container will send page views and other events to. So let's take a look at that. So let's go to our initial GTM container, and I'll just rename it real quick. So XYZ-web. And the way I like to do it normally, so I'll just hit refresh, is I have two tabs open. The first one is for the tagging server, SS, the second one for the web container. Okay. Now then, if we want our Google tag to send event data to our tagging server instead of directly to GA4, what we have to do, and it's really simple actually, server container URL, add a new parameter and include our server container URL. Click save. Click preview, and then let's do preview on the server tagging server. So as we can see, it's using our subdomain Lime, and then let's connect to our website. Here we go. And in this bit, nothing changed, but if I go ahead and take a look at the page view event, the URL actually changed from Google Analytics to our tagging server. And if I open my tagging server's preview window, I can see the page view. So the same request that, as we saw before, is now being sent to our tagging server, and the GA4 client that's configured by default actually claimed the request, so we can see it here. So next up, what we need to do, so the tagging server received the event, but it hasn't sent anything to GA4. So in order to do that, what we need to do is go ahead and add a trigger and create a custom trigger that fires every time the client name equals GA4. So client GA4. And let's look for our measurement ID again real quick. Here we go. Paste it in here, Google tag. Then click preview. And then, here is it, refresh the page. So, here we go. Another page view was sent to our tagging server. It received it. And in this case, we see an outgoing HTTP request to Google Analytics. And if I go back to GA4, hit debug view, I can see my page view originating from my tagging server. But there's a twist, because what we've set up now is events are being sent to our tagging server, but the actual loader itself is still being the loader and the container are being loaded from Google's Google Tag Manager domain still. And in order to fix this, to start loading all the data from our subdomain, we have to go back to Stape, click Power-Ups, click Use Custom Loader, save changes, then go ahead and grab our Web GTM ID, GA4 ad block bypass, okay, platform, in our case it's WordPress. Click generate, then head on back to WordPress, and let's do the following. I will disable WP code, the 2 bits of code that we added earlier, then go ahead and search for Stape under plugins. GTM server side, that's their plugin, official. Click activate. Then go to settings, GTM server side. Then go ahead and copy the GTM web container ID, paste it here. Copy the container loading path, paste it in here. And container identifier, oops. Here we go. And click Save Changes. And if I go back to my website now and view its source code, I'll see Lime instead of Google Tag Manager. And if I go back to GTM, click refresh. Refresh this as well, the server side, and I should see a page view. Where is it? Okay, it was too late. Okay, so refresh page view. Okay, it's being accepted by GA4, and at the same time, if I open up developer tools, hit refresh, and then search for Lime, I can see that my GTM container is being loaded from my Stape subdomain, which is great, which means that this domain is likely not to be blocked by tracking protection or Brave or other privacy-focused browsers. Okay, good. So next step, let me just close the preview windows real quick. And okay, we don't need Stape at the moment, but still, okay. Let's do the following. So how to set up a conversion action. I've added a simple contact form here on this sample page. And once submitted, it redirects the user to the thank you page, which is located on server-side setup.xyz/thanks. And let's use the URL as a trigger for this event, for the conversion event. So let's name it GA4 event form submitted. Let's add a new trigger. Page view, some page views, page URL contains thanks. So page view thanks. Okay. And tag configuration. And in this case, instead of Google tag, we'll select GA4 event. For the measurement ID, I'll go and grab it over here. And now, instead of just, pasting it here, let's create a variable. And we can do that by either clicking the plus symbol or doing curly brackets. New variable, constant, paste that in here, and let's do GA4, measurement ID. So why this is useful is because we can now reference this variable in other tags. And if we ever decide to change our measurement ID, for example, if you're working for a client and you're working on a live website, I usually like to create another GA4 property within the same account. So I would just go ahead and create a new property, set everything up, test everything, and then just switch the measurement ID variable, and that's it. You don't, there's no need to then go ahead and change their measurement ID, 20 times across both the client side GTM and the server side container. So, okay. And form, I'll just name it form submitted. I think I named it, form submitted in GA4 in Google Tags the same. And since this is a very the basic setup, let's just click save, and let's go to Google Analytics, data display key events, and let's add this form submitted event as a key event, formerly known as a conversion event. So if I now go back to my tagging server, hit preview, go back to my web GTM preview, and then let's just do thanks. Connect. Here we go. And let's see what happened. The form submitted event actually triggered the GA4 tag, sent a request to my tagging server, which fired. And then if I go back to GA4, I see the form submitted with a little green flag over here, which means it is successfully accepted, picked up the key event or conversion in this case, which is awesome. This is the simple bit. Because the way the web and server-side GTM work is they're kind of set up to work with GA4 out of the box. And in order to implement Google Ads conversion tracking, we'll need to do the following. So let's go to our tagging server. In this case, click New. And then we need to do two things. The first thing is to add a conversion linker tag. So this is conversion linker, nothing to it. And then add a second tag, the Google Ads conversion tracking tag. Then go ahead, head on to Google Ads, my Google Ads account, and click tag setup and tag the conversion ID. And I can do a variable here as well. Constant conversion ID. And then let's do conversion label, just copy and paste it here and then name it ads conversion form submitted. The way I like to name these tags is service, event, action. So in this case, I'm looking at a Google Ads tag. It's a conversion tag, and it fires when the form is submitted. And in this case, I'll just do event form submitted. In this case, I'll do a custom event. What's its name? This is it. I'm gonna paste this here. Make sure there are no spaces. Click save. Click preview. And then go ahead and where we are, here we are. Refresh the preview. And here we go. So if I go back to my web GTM, form submitted, event happened, sent a hit to our tagging server. Tagging server accepted the incoming request. GA4 client claimed it. And then the form submitted event was sent to Google Analytics, and another HTTP request was sent to Google Ads. And that's pretty much it for the most basic server-side tracking setup. All I need to do now is hit publish on both my server-side and web GTM. Just close this up, close this. Close, okay. And what we can do now is just run a test or two. So let's do the following. Whoops. I'll go ahead and open up Brave, incognito. Here we go. I'll type server-side setup. Network, refresh, and okay, I can see that Lime, our tagging server subdomain, which is good, but I've not yet enabled tracking protection, so let's do that. Brave shields are up and up. Why not? What's going on, Brave? Let me open a regular. So server side. Okay, works now. Weird. Okay. So shields are up, which means tracking protection is on. And still, if I filter for Lime, I can see that my container, my GTM, is being loaded. And again, I can test this out by going to my tag manager. I'll just do it in Brave now. So server-side setup, web, and server-side. And I'll click preview here on both. Punch in the website URL and see what happens. So in this case, the Brave shield is up, but my GTM container is still loaded, and a page view event was sent to my tagging server, which accepted it, and an event was also sent to GA4, which should have accepted it, and it did. So what this means that even though tracking protection in Brave was turned on, my GA4 property still accepted, acknowledged, recorded a page view event, which is awesome and means that we've set up our server-side tracking correctly.
Hey, Ted, thanks for watching the video. In a world where advertisers are losing their minds because of AI and automation taking over and supposedly nothing works, everything's changed, bollocks, go to godtierads.com, buy my framework, give me money, and you will remain relevant in a automated world. Promise you that. And if I don't fulfill on that promise, then get a refund, because there's a refund guarantee. So yeah, and join the community. It's really good. Thousands of very smart Google Ads professionals helping each other out in this tumultuous period in our profession. Anyway, thank you once again. Oh, before I go, that was one call to action. Here's another. If you enjoyed the video and you haven't already done it, please click the like button, do subscribe, and of course leave a comment. Good or bad, constructive criticism is always welcome, of course. Thanks again.